Imagine you have a time machine. You punch in the year 300 BCE and step out into the middle of a massive, bustling city called Patliputra. You look around and see towering walls, a giant drawbridge, and soldiers marching alongside massive armored war elephants. The streets are perfectly planned. The markets are overflowing with exotic silks and spices, and street acrobats are entertaining crowds on the corners. You aren't just in a simple kingdom anymore, you have just walked into an empire. Welcome to our topic, the rise of empires. Let's start with a simple question. What exactly is an empire? The word itself comes from the Latin imperium, meaning supreme power. An emperor is essentially a king of kings, or Rajadhiraja in Sanskrit. Instead of ruling just one small piece of land, an emperor controls a massive territory, forcing smaller local kings to act as tributaries, meaning they have to regularly send money, grain, and gold just to prove their loyalty. But how does a small kingdom actually grow into a massive empire? It all starts with winning the geographic lottery. Take Magadha, located in modern-day Bihar. Between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE, Magadha had it all. They had the incredibly fertile Ganga plains for endless food. They had thick forests to capture wild elephants for their army. And most importantly, they had massive hills full of iron ore. Iron meant stronger plows for farming and far deadlier weapons for war. This wealth allowed the Nanda dynasty to build a terrifyingly massive army. In fact, their army was so legendary that when the famous Greek king Alexander the Great invaded northwest India around 327 BCE, his own troops, who had just conquered half the known world, were completely exhausted and absolutely refused to march any further east to face the Nandas. Alexander had to turn back. But the last Nanda emperor was a cruel man, hated by his people. This sets the stage for our next two heroes. At the famous Takshashila University, a brilliant teacher named Kautilya, also known as Chanakya, was deeply insulted and thrown out of the Nanda court. Furious, he vowed to destroy them. He teamed up with a young, ambitious warrior named Chandragupta Maurya. Together, they overthrew the Nandas, kicked out the remaining Greek governors, and founded the legendary Maurya Empire. Now, Kautilya wasn't just a military strategist. He wrote the ultimate rulebook on how to run a country. It was called the Arthashastra. He believed a kingdom was like a machine with 7 essential parts called the Saptanga: a king, councillors, the land and people, fortified cities, a full treasury, a strong army, and loyal allies. But above all, he strictly believed that a king's happiness lay entirely in the welfare of his people. To keep that treasury full, the empire needed cash, and cash came from trade. The Mauryans protected massive trade routes, and businesses were run by guilds called shrenis. These were powerful groups of traders and craftsmen who didn't ruthlessly compete against each other. They collaborated, shared resources, and shipped Indian goods across the globe. Thanks to this wealth, life in cities like Patliputra was highly advanced. They had street signs, 2-story wooden houses, and even public water vessels kept on the streets just to fight fires. Fast forward a few years to Chandragupta's grandson, Ashoka. Ashoka expanded the Maurya Empire to its absolute peak, covering almost the entire Indian subcontinent. But then, something unprecedented in world history happened. During the massive Battle of Kalinga, Ashoka witnessed sheer, horrific destruction. Watching the endless loss of life completely broke him. Right at the absolute height of his military power, an all-powerful emperor decided to completely give up war. He embraced the peaceful teachings of Buddhism. Instead of conquering with swords, Ashoka tried to conquer hearts. He planted trees along roadsides, built hospitals for both humans and animals, and carved his new laws of dharma, moral duties and kindness, onto massive stone pillars across the country. He also built massive dome-shaped stone structures called stupas for meditation and worship, like the world-famous one at Sanchi. But here is the hard truth about empires: they are incredibly fragile. When you have a massive territory stretched that far, it takes a uniquely brilliant leader to hold it together. When strong rulers like Chandragupta or Ashoka die, weaker successors struggle to maintain control. Distant local kings realize the central power is weakening and stop paying tribute. Long wars or droughts drain the treasury, taxes get too heavy, and slowly the giant unbreakable machine falls apart. And that is the story of India's early empires. From the iron rich hills of Magad to the brilliant strategies of Chanakya to the peaceful stone pillars of Ashoka. They didn't just build massive kingdoms, they built a highly advanced system of trade, art, and administration that laid the very foundation of Indian civilization.